afternoon, everyone.
Wait for the VIP.
Welcome to the annual State of the City Address. My name is Marilyn Sanders, and I serve as the city clerk. I have the honor of guiding us through today's program. I'd like to welcome you to City Hall. For all who are able, please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Pledge of Allegiance today is led by Kansas City Police Department Deputy Chief Joe Maven. Deputy Chief, he's been Deputy Chief since 2021. Joe celebrated his 25th work anniversary this year as a member of the Kansas City Police Department. Deputy Chief Maven leads the Investigations Bureau and served as interim Chief of Police for 8 months in 2022. Currently, he commands the Patrol Bureau, which includes 6 patrol divisions, Special Operations, Traffic, and Community Engagement divisions.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Up. Left. Face. Forward. March.
Thank you, Chief Maven. If you're able, please remain standing as Father Andres from St. Anthony's Catholic Church leads us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, we come before you today with hearts full of gratitude as we gather for the 6th annual State of the City Address. We thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon our city, for the leaders you have placed in service, and for the people who work tirelessly to build a stronger and more united community. Lord, we lift up our Mayor Quinton Lucas, city officials, and all public servants who bear the weight of leadership. Grant them wisdom and compassion to make just decisions, courage to face the challenges ahead, and compassion to serve all people with integrity and fairness. May their words and actions reflect your justice, mercy, and love. We pray especially for the needs of our city and nation in a time of uncertainty, division, and hardship. We ask you for your grace to reign in our hearts and communities. Bring healing to those suffering from violence, injustice, hardship, and despair. Strengthen families, guide our youth, and protect those who serve in law enforcement, healthcare, education, and every form of public service. Loving Father, we entrust Kansas City to your care. May it be a place where neighbors support one another, where diversity is embraced, and where the most vulnerable find protection and hope. Bless our businesses, schools, places of worship, and all who call this city home. As we look to the future, help us to build a city that reflects the values of your kingdom, where love overcomes hatred, where justice is pursued with humility, and where peace is not just a dream, but a lived reality. Padre Celestial, hoy nos reunimos con corazones llenos de gratitud para este sexto informe anual del estado de la ciudad. Te damos gracias por las bendiciones que has derramado sobre nuestra ciudad, por los líderes que ha puesto al servicio del pueblo y por todos aquellos que trabajan incansablemente para construir una comunidad más fuerte y unida. Señor, te encomendamos a nuestro alcalde, Quinton Lucas, a los funcionarios de la ciudad y a todos los servidores públicos que llevan la responsabilidad del liderazgo. Concédeles sabiduría para tomar decisiones justas, valentía para afrontar los desafíos y un corazón lleno de compasión para servir con integridad y equidad a todos los ciudadanos. Que sus palabras y acciones reflejen tu justicia, misericordia y amor. En este momento, elevamos ante ti las necesidades de nuestra ciudad y de nuestra nación. En tiempos de incertidumbre, división y dificultades, te pedimos que tu paz reine en nuestros corazones y en nuestras comunidades. Sana a quienes sufren por la violencia, la injusticia, la pobreza y la desesperanza. Fortalece a las familias, guía a nuestros jóvenes y protege a quienes sirven en la policía, la salud, la educación y las tareas del servicio público. Padre amoroso, ponemos a Kansas City en tus manos, que sea un lugar donde los vecinos se apoyen unos a otros, donde se valore la diversidad y donde los más vulnerables encuentren protección y esperanza. Bendice nuestros negocios, nuestras escuelas, nuestras iglesias y a todos los que llaman a esta ciudad su hogar. Mientras miramos hacia el futuro, ayúdanos a construir una ciudad que refleje los valores de tu reino, donde el amor venza al odio, donde se busque la justicia con humildad y donde la paz no sea solo un sueño, sino una realidad vivida. Te lo pedimos por Cristo nuestro Señor. Amén.
Amén.
Thank you, Father Marino. We would like to take a moment to recognize our city council members in the room with us today. Please stand when I call your name so that we may recognize you. Mayor Pro Tem and 5th District Councilwoman Raina Parkshaw. 1st District at Large, Councilman Kevin O'Neill. 1st District, Councilman Nathan Willett. 2nd District at Large, Councilwoman Lindsay French. 2nd District, Councilmember Wes Rogers. 3rd District at Large, Councilwoman Melissa Patterson Hasley. 3rd District Councilwoman Melissa Robinson. 4th District at Large, Councilman Crispin Rea. 4th District, Councilman Eric Bunch. 5th District at Large, Councilman Darrell Curls. 6th District at Large, Councilwoman Andrea Boo. 6th District Councilman Jonathan Duncan. Thank you for joining us and for continued service in our community. Introducing Mayor Lucas is Superintendent Jennifer Collier of Kansas City Public Schools. Dr. Collier has over 20 years of experience at Kansas City Schools, serving as a teacher, principal, and deputy superintendent. She holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Kansas, a master's from Avalon University, an educational specialist and doctoral degree in educational leadership from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. A lifelong learner, she completed the National Institute of School Leaders program and is a certified trainer. Dr. Collier was named Superintendent of Kansas City Public Schools in 2023. Let's welcome her to the stage.
Good afternoon. Well, I am Dr. Jennifer Collier, Superintendent of Kansas City Public Schools, and it is truly my honor to introduce a remarkable leader, one who was a true champion and an advocate for our city. As a fellow leader in our community, I know firsthand how challenging leadership can be when you're genuinely working to hear, to understand, demonstrate empathy for, and lead thousands of people from different walks of life, varying views and perspectives, competing priorities, and a plethora of hopes and dreams that they hold for themselves, their families, and for our city. Despite these challenges, our mayor continues to lead with grace, wisdom, and foresight that has ushered our city into a new era of innovation, growth, and expansive opportunity for all. I'm here today because Mayor Lucas has been a steadfast supporter of children and strong schools in Kansas City. And when I say that, I'm not just referring to Kansas City Public Schools. He is a supporter of children in charter schools, parochial schools, private schools. He is a champion for education. He understands that the foundation of any thriving city lies in the development, the investment, and the well-being of its children. Time and again, Mayor Lucas has shown his unwavering commitment to students all across the metro, not just imparting wisdom, but he actively engages with them, answering their questions, serving as a role model for many of them. It is not uncommon to see our mayor take time out of his very busy schedule to spend some time with children who look up to him and find inspiration in him. His presence in our schools is a testament to his dedication to our youth and their future. Mayor Lucas knows that the children in our schools today will one day be the leaders in our city. He works tirelessly to ensure that Kansas City is a city where all citizens, all citizens, including our children, are given the full opportunity to succeed and to be proud of the place they call home. When I approached Mayor Lucas about the KCPS bond proposal, he immediately vowed to lend his support to this effort. And I want to personally and publicly thank Mayor Lucas for keeping his promise. While he certainly has many other priorities that are important to him, that he also has to champion, he has not neglected being a champion for the children in Kansas City by fully advocating for the passage of what will be a historic bond effort. That speaks to his character and the type of leader that we have in our mayor. Under his leadership, Kansas City has seen significant strides in a number of areas that affect all Kansas Cityans. Mayor Lucas has been instrumental in creating a housing trust fund to support affordable housing projects for hundreds of local families. His efforts have resulted in much-needed resurfacing of hundreds of miles of Kansas City streets and sidewalks. And let's not forget the new KCI single terminal airport, on time and on budget, which has been an absolute jewel reflective of the creativity and the innovative spirit of Kansas City. Bringing the World Cup to Kansas City. The list goes on and on, but it's not over yet. As we move forward, Mayor Lucas is a leader who will continue to fight tirelessly for our city and represent us with intelligence, a calm strength, and yes, a little bit of swag. His vision for Kansas City is one where every citizen has a chance to thrive, where our children feel seen, valued, and supported, and where our community is empowered to work together to build a brighter future. His leadership and dedication inspire all of us to strive for excellence and to collectively work towards a city that we can all be proud to call home. He's a graduate of Washington University in Cornell, former clerk for the U.S. Court of Appeals, attorney, professor, mentor, son, brother, husband, father, and friend to so many. Would you be so kind to please stand to your feet, put your hands together, and join me in welcoming a true champion for our city, our children, and our community, our phenomenal visionary leader, Mayor Quinton Lucas.
Thank you, thank you. Please be seated. Be seated for you, all right? Please be seated. I want to say, first of all, thank you to Superintendent Collier for that outstanding introduction. We are blocked by this, but know that we love, that we appreciate you. And to put very simply, we all know that Kansas City will not reach its full potential unless we give all of our public schools the tools to ensure that our children are able to realize their own greatness. That's the sort of work you do each day, Superintendent. That's the work that all of our public school educators do. I had the chance to be in Mr. Willett's class at Park Hill High School the other day, and I want to give a shout out to our teachers, our educators. Let's give Superintendent Collier a round of applause. And I have a message, although I know that children may not watch Channel 2 and our local government as much as I would like them to listen. I'll just say this for them. No matter who you are, where you are from, the language that you speak, or the status of you or your family, if you are a child in Kansas City, we are committed to ensuring that you are safe, you are protected, you are encouraged to succeed, and that you can learn. Today, we are fortunate to have 42 young leaders today from the Kansas City Public Schools, Center, Hickman Mills, and Grandview. Could y'all stand up and be recognized wherever y'all might? Oh, up there. Let's give a round of applause for our young people. Thank y'all so much. These young women and men are participating in a first responder exploration program, which provides high school students with exposure to careers and guidance from leaders in the vital fields of medicine, law enforcement, and firefighting that keep our city safe and healthy. I think I can speak on behalf of Deputy Chief Mabin and all of his colleagues. We're happy to give you a job right after you're done in this program. So we look forward to you making a big difference long-term here in Kansas City. I also want to acknowledge my council colleagues today. One of my goals when I got elected to this position over 5 years ago was that we would have no drama. And while others nationally and in our states and sometimes even closer to home may get headlines, may have their dramas, we just get stuff done. We get results for the people of Kansas City. We've done things like delivered over 4,400 units of affordable and accessible housing in Kansas City since we all joined together. We've delivered things like 300,000 trash and recycling bins to every single family home in this community. We have delivered a new airport terminal, but more than anything, we have listened, we have adjusted, we have changed, and we have built up a positive future for Kansas City. Let's give another round of applause for the women and men of our city council. I'm going to add something else today. I want to acknowledge the people who keep this city running and who for decades, some of y'all for generations, have worked here at Kansas City. Our city workers, our city staff, led by City Manager Brian Platt, our city clerk Marilyn Sanders, Police Chief Stacy Graves, and the almost 6,000 Kansas Cityans who deliver vital services to our community each day. Rarely do we recognize all of them, but often we tell them what they're not doing right. Today, I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of you, and I'm going to do that in the form of our directors who are present today. So as I read your name, please stand up, let people see what you look like. Let them know that if they have a water issue or something, who to call. I'm playing, Kevin, I'm playing, brother. But let me say it, and we'll applaud for all of them at the end. City Manager Brian Platt, our Deputy City Manager and Convention, you got to stand up. Our Deputy City Manager and Conventions Director, Kamiko Gilmore. Assistant City Manager and Planning Director, Mario Vasquez. Assistant City Manager, Melissa Kazakowicz. Assistant City Manager, Kelly Postlethwaite. Aviation Director Melissa Cooper, Civil Rights and Equal Opportunity Director Jaime Guillen, Finance Director Tammy Queen, Fire Chief Ross Grundison, General Services Director Yolanda McKenzie, our Health Director Dr. Marvia Jones, our Housing and Community Development Director Blaine Proctor, Human Resources Director Terry Casey, the City Attorney Matt Gelati, Neighborhoods Director Forrest Decker, Parks and Recreation Director Chris Cotton, our Public Works Director and the Chair of the Snow Team Michael Shaw, and the aforementioned Water Services Director Kenneth Morgan, and the woman who keeps us running every week, City Clerk Marilyn Sanders. Let's applaud all these dedicated public servants who are with us. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for being here today. I also want to take a moment to appreciate my family. So as you all know, these jobs are challenging. They take a lot of time. Some of us may get in trouble and get in text message fights at 5 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and your spouse may say, "No, we got a child we got to take care of. We may have 2 children we need to take care of." I want to thank my beautiful wife, Catherine, and the mother of my 2 sons, who puts up more with in this job than any human should handle. Thank you, Catherine, for being here. And to my biggest critic and supporter, so in case y'all wondering how I got thick skin, there's always somebody after a TV interview or something like that said, "Boy, why didn't you shine them shoes? I raised you for this, that." She's looking at me now, about to look at me. But somebody who has been a believer in me since I was born in Truman Medical Center. We were catching the bus back in the day. We've been through a lot together, but she has been with me every step of the way. My mother, Quincy. It is great to see you today. And by the way, Dr. Collier, I'll say she is a proud Southeast Knight, and all those alums are always looking at, okay, go ahead, Southeast. Have your moment, Southeast. We got a few up here. Always saying, what they doing now, what's up? So after this bond passes, they're gonna be visiting with you and all that. Thank you all so much for gathering in the council chambers of City Hall. I won't lie, the month of January was a very long year. In the course of the last few weeks, over $30 million of grant awards to the city were put in jeopardy. 30,000 federal workers and contractors in Kansas City and our surrounding areas were made to feel anxious about their career futures. And too many of our neighbors were made to feel fearful about their ability to remain in our city and to thrive, fearful that programs to bring more Kansas Cityans to an inclusive table of shared opportunity, like where I just was before with Variety KC, could be gutted by broad actions that marginalize millions from the right to a fair shot. I get your fears, I get your anxiety, and I get your exhaustion. But as your mayor, I'm here to tell you that this city of varied backgrounds, this city built on the labor of slaves, of immigrants, of varied people who have come together as a community over the last 200 years. This city will never turn its back on what's right. This city will never turn its back on its people, and this city will continue to honor the words that appear behind me on this wall. Let honor, truth, and justice rule within these walls. I'm proud to be the product of a city that gave the child of a mother and a family that worked hard, that knew some struggle, a shot to reach its highest office. I'm proud to be from a city that has welcomed people from all over the world since its founding. And I'm proud to be in a city that will lead America in adhering not just to our Constitution, but to supporting each person present in our city today to reach their greatest success. This city has reached great success over the past year. The Kansas City Current, as you've heard many times, opened CPKC Stadium at the Richard Berkeley Riverfront Park, making history as the world's first stadium built specifically for a women's professional sports team. Not only did they open that park, but they won on the first day in front of a sold-out crowd, where the Current beat the Portland Thorns. The stadium went on to host the 2024 NWSL Championship after a record-breaking season that shattered attendance and viewership records. The Kansas City Royals, Councilman Rogers, returned to playoff baseball, taking on and beating the Orioles and taking on our longtime rivals, if you're an OG, the New York Yankees. And we'll make sure we get them next year. And our Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, for the first time in franchise history, went undefeated at home at beautiful Arrowhead Stadium through both the regular and postseason. And by the way, we will keep up our work as a city, working with the team, our partners in Jackson County, and our partners in the state of Missouri to ensure the Chiefs stay home at the greatest venue in the National Football League, Arrowhead Stadium. And I want to make sure that we note this, because I have to make sure we have some spirit today. So in honor of Coach Andy Reid, how about those Chiefs? Oh, see, y'all well trained. I love it. The impact of the Chiefs, the Royals, who will also keep home in Kansas City, the Current, and all of our teams extend well beyond the playing fields. Their success supports our local economy, generating revenue that is used to strengthen city services and reinvest in our community. So thank you, Bobby, Patrick, Timwa, Travis, and yes, Taylor, for leading and lifting Kansas City on and off the field. While our teams bring national attention to Kansas City, City Hall remains focused on doing much of the work that may not make headlines every day, but ensures that our city will continue meeting its full potential well into the future. Now, some of y'all may wonder, and it won't be forever, but I have been mayor for a little while now. So I was mayor during the first Trump administration. And I remember hearing often at that time out of Washington about Infrastructure Week. Infrastructure Week was coming every single year. And we would hear from Washington these promises of new legislation to invest in roads, bridges, and sewers. But what we did at that time, myself, the Mayor Pro Tem, Councilwoman Boo, so many others, said that we weren't going to wait. Potholes and bridges aren't Republican or Democratic issues. They're about getting work done. They're about making sure our kids could get to school, making sure people could get to a doctor's appointment, and moving our city forward. So we got to work and took action. That's because cities lead. Because cities lead, we invested in our roads, creating a long-term street resurfacing plan. And over the past 3 years, we have resurfaced over 1,500 lane miles of roads. That is 21% of the entire city. In case you're wondering, I ran on that, so give that a round of applause. City manager, Director Shaw, and so many others worked to introduce a new snow plan to better handle major storms, including the historic blizzard we faced just several weeks ago. Thanks to our dedicated public works team and their partner departments working around the clock, our main streets were cleared and drivable within days, particularly as compared to other communities that face the same challenges. We've also made our streets safer, implementing smarter road designs to save lives on our streets. And by the way, we talk a lot about Vision Zero and road design. I know there is controversy, but something that I think shouldn't continue to happen is that pedestrians, that people lose their lives on Troost, that people lose their lives on Independence Avenue. We will make sure we do the work to save lives, to make sure that everyone traversing our city can be safe. Back to 2021, in early May, I received a call from a group by the name of Accelerator for America. They invited me out for what was actually Infrastructure Week. And Kansas City wasn't just an observer. We had a seat at the table, making sure that federal funding would reach our city. And it did. Our activity, the investments that we made early, caught the attention of Washington. We hosted the then U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg for the ribbon cutting at the new KCI, a project that cemented Kansas City's reputation as a world-class destination. I also got the chance to meet with the Secretary again several weeks ago in his final weekend in office, where we were able to celebrate and recognize the hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructure investment that is coming right here to Kansas City. Because Kansas City was proactive, we had projects ready to go when the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act passed. And we welcomed the former president to Kansas City to the KCATA to celebrate its passage, and we got to work. Our city secured a $5 million grant to develop critical safety and mobility improvements along 71 Highway. We are one of 45 communities in the country selected for Reconnecting Communities pilots to allow us to work to restore and revitalize the historic West Side neighborhood, a community that had been long affected by the construction of Interstate 35. But infrastructure is just one piece of our work. Under our new Jackson County prosecutor, our friend, our former colleague, and an inspiring leader, Melissa Johnson, cases that once fell through the cracks in domestic violence and drug distribution are getting the attention that they deserve. Melissa, won't you stand up and let us recognize you? Weeks ago, the Kansas City Police Department welcomed its largest police academy class in years, which will strengthen our police force. Our relevant commander who takes credit for that might be Colonel Ortiz. Why don't you stand up and get recognized for that too? Go ahead, brother. And so I don't get in trouble with the fire department because Chief Grandison's back there like, we've continued to have gigantic classes. I want to commend the women and men of the Kansas City Fire Department as well for adding new recruits and making sure our city can stay safe. Chief Grandison, please rise again. In addition, we've worked on revitalizing our community. The city's work with Parade Park, one of the nation's oldest black-owned housing cooperatives, will deliver over 1,000 new homes in Kansas City's 3rd District, including affordable senior housing and homeownership opportunities for residents of all income levels. We continue invested in projects like the West Bottoms and look to new areas for redevelopment like the Blue River Valley Industrial Area. The site of the old General Motors Leeds plant that closed in 1988 is seeing new interest and will be able to breathe new life into areas long underinvested, redefining our city's landscape and economy. Through the Central City Economic Development Sales Tax, we recently approved $15.4 million in funding for 11 new economic development projects that will bring jobs, housing, and opportunities to the Prospect Corridor and areas nearby. And thanks to the strong advocacy, particularly of my colleagues from the Northland, we are seeing a reinvigorated Department of City Planning and Development to continue to ensure that we can see new growth in every part of our city. Thank you, Assistant City Manager and Director of City Planning and Development, Mario Vasquez, for your work there. We are working on making the city safer. The numbers that we'll see in the budget today communicate that very point. This year, the Kansas City Police Department budget will increase by 7.7% to $343 million. The Kansas City Fire Department will see a large increase as well, and will continue the work to recruit and retain quality officers, firefighters, and civilians with competitive wages and benefits. We all agree that no one should have to wait in the case of an emergency. That's why we're investing in having more 911 call takers, adjusting civilian salaries for call takers, dispatchers, fleet, and others, raising their salaries by thousands of dollars so that our finest and our bravest are on the scene and saving lives as quickly as possible. We value all of our city workers. That's why this year's budget will give on average a 4% salary increase to unrepresented employees, a 4% salary increase for all of our city employees. And Kansas City is investing in a greener future with an additional investment that will mark our final year fulfilling a 3-year plan to plant 10,000 trees. Planting more trees improves air quality, reduces the heat island, enhances stormwater management, and beautifies our neighborhoods. Kansas City is also trying to catch up on work that for too many years we were too far behind. Investing more in affordable housing, and investing more to prevent homelessness. This year, to address homelessness, we're investing more in Zero KC and expanding access to emergency shelters with additional support to ensure that we have access to emergency shelters all year round, not just during extreme weather conditions. We're adding 5 new positions in homeless services to improve our response, including an encampment coordinator to help people find housing, a housing rehabilitation specialist, and street outreach staff. Kansas City is for all, and we will make sure that we take care of all of our sisters and brothers, giving them a chance to succeed. And on the finance side of things, the city remains in its best fiscal position than ever. However, we recognize that we have a structural imbalance long-term that must be addressed. But the way that we are in this strong financial position is because of the wise and responsible choices of this elected body, the success of all of you, our community and our taxpayers, and the tremendous work of our staff. As some cities and states have struggled with budget shortfalls as they emerged out of the pandemic, this city has emerged stronger and ready to withstand budgetary and inflationary challenges to come. But we hope we don't have too many of them. As cities lead through uncertain economic times, we'll continue to have your back. But as we celebrate our successes, we cannot ignore that there are challenges ahead. We will continue to fight for Kansas Cityans across the national, state, and local stages. Just as we've done in the past, Kansas City will continue to forge a way ahead because cities lead America forward. Cities lead through development, including support of our small businesses, which is why we propose, in collaboration with our Small Business Task Force in this year's budget, more investment in outdoor dining support, more investment in business relief funds, and more investment for startup initiatives through Kansas City BizCare. Our new 18th and Vine tenant recruitment plan will aim to attract businesses to the historic Jazz District, my former home, where the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum is beginning a transformational expansion underway. And cities also lead by listening. Kansas City, you made it clear that public safety is a top priority for you, and we heard you. A majority of our budget, indeed 73% of our general revenues, will go to public safety. Over the past year, we have heard from small business owners struggling to recover from vandalism and break-ins, and in response, we established the Back to Business Fund, providing direct financial support to help those businesses to rebuild and remain part of our local economy. We proposed additional funding to enhance security services in areas recently impacted by heavy property crime, including using off-duty officers and sheriff's deputies licensed in the state of Missouri. And long-term, I remind my friends in the Missouri legislature and in the governor's office that an extended hand of cooperation and state investment can help us make our community safe again, can help our police department respond to the many challenges we face, answering 911 calls without delay, adding even more recruits, providing technology and resources to deter deadly street racing, speeding, and red light running, and can move us beyond the sad and long-standing realities of all too prevalent gun violence in our community. I'll be clear, and I thank the prosecutor for making it clear in her inaugural speech. Criminals must certainly be held accountable, but so must we, at the Board of Police Commissioners on which I serve, and at the city. We have to be accountable to our community. We spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year in enforcement and prevention, and the budget proposes we do the same this year. But we need to resolve to be even clearer with the public on how they can hear fewer gunshots in their neighborhoods, how their businesses can avoid ongoing and repeat street racing corridors at clearly known spots in the city. Data is helpful, but perceptions are powerful. We need to resolve to be a city where every business and every resident feels safe from burglary when they close up, where every resident goes to sleep feeling safe in their home and their surroundings. And as a result, not all public safety issues will require enforcement action. In 2024, this city council created the REACH program, which is short for Responding with Empathetic Alternatives in Community Health. And I'll just be real honest among friends. I was a bit of a skeptic at the beginning. I was somebody who had questions. I had to be brought along. I had to meet with a lot of people, listening to Melissa, Councilman Duncan, and so many others. But if you think about it, it makes sense. Instead of arresting the same people again and again, and sometimes in hundreds of situations, what if we help those folks who are sometimes facing behavioral health challenges, substance abuse challenges, or just need a job to find the help that they need? Earlier in my life, I actually had the chance to teach in prisons, including maximum security facilities. And what was most interesting to me when I first walked in the prisons and was talking to my students was that almost everybody, this is in maximum security, almost everybody is coming back home. How do we make sure that when people find themselves in a cycle, that there is a way out in our city? With REACH, our city is saying that the status quo is unacceptable, and our city is truly invested in changing lives. Kansas City is also committed to leading with facts and sciences and addressing the fentanyl crisis as well. Fentanyl is responsible for most of our opioid-related fatalities. And since 2018, Kansas City has seen fentanyl deaths increase by over 1,000%. And while deaths due to overdoses are thankfully just now declining in the past year, we are acting by expanding public education on the dangers of counterfeit pills, increasing access to life-saving naloxone, and working with law enforcement to target illegal distribution. Today, we remember the precious lives lost from fentanyl overdoses. Victor Marmolejo and Jaden Anderson both received pills from friends, not knowing the danger. Through a partnership with United Way and Barclay, a world-class advertising agency based here in Kansas City, Victor and Jaden are sharing their stories in their own words. With permission from their families, their messages can help others avoid a similar fate. Thank you, Jasmine Marmolejo, and your family, and Holly Yoakum for being here today. In your grief, you aspire to help others, and we appreciate you sharing your loved ones' stories. Let's please recognize them. And I'll take a moment of personal privilege. I want to recognize and thank my former press secretary, Jaslyn Johnson, for her work leading efforts to raise awareness of the dangers of fentanyl in our communities. Jaslyn, who's not a native of Kansas City, hit the ground running, saying that the real way we can change this issue is how we communicate. And it may not be a mayor, it may not be a police colonel, it may be voices from young people. Thank you, Jaslyn, for changing this narrative, and we thank you so much for all you continue to do. And yes, cities also lead through their people. Kansas City is strongest when everyone, regardless of background, income, or zip code, has a chance for a brighter future. We celebrate, we encourage, we appreciate our city's rich cultural diversity. Through investments in neighborhoods throughout the city, we are working to preserve and uplift the communities that have shaped Kansas City's identity. Kansas City has always been a city of opportunity, a place where people from around the world can come to build better lives for themselves and their families. And our new Office of Language Access, led by Lady Kitian Varon, looks to support the people of Kansas City no matter what language they speak, ensuring that all residents feel safe when seeking assistance. As the heart of America, we have a unique opportunity to showcase Kansas City as a welcoming city, one that values the contributions of all who call our community home. We will continue our work to ensure that refugees and immigrants are safe in our city. And our workforce, both in City Hall and across our economy, will continue to reflect our community. And indeed, our differences do make us stronger. I grew up primarily in East Kansas City, although we moved around a lot, so most every district south of the river I lived in at one point, and we occasionally knew struggle. But I know that about 22 years ago, I had a chance to spend time with a counselor who was born in St. Joseph, Missouri, Kay Barnes. She gave me a chance to shadow her for the day in the mayor's office, which was amazing to me, right? Mayor Barnes was on TV, there's this big, impressive office. I saw the construction of the T-Mobile Center at the time. I attended a raucous meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners, so commanders, don't get too mad at me. It used to be much more challenging. And I saw all that this city had to offer, and all that I could one day be. Kay and I did not share a background, but she, the mayor, our first woman mayor, I'll remind you, gave a kid who was different the time of day and gave him a chance. Exclusion denies us the promise of all in our community, whereas inclusion breeds success not just for us, but for future generations. Our journeys and our communities are more successful when we share the promise of a better tomorrow with all. Kansas City is onto something when a kid at Northeast or Staley, Grandview, Ruskin, Rockhurst, Park Hill, or Raytown knows that they can achieve anything. Know that we're investing in them all fairly and that their city has their back. This and each Black History Month, I think often of Dr. King's final speech in April 1968. In the speech, which truly was a sermon, Dr. King noted the trouble in the land and confusion all around. We see that today. And we have seen that during my several years in this role. If you remember COVID and protests and everything under the sun. In his speech, Dr. King moved from the somber, the very real challenges we face, to the duties we have on behalf of all to face our community's challenges. He recited the well-known story of the Good Samaritan. And as many of you know, a man on the road to Jericho had fallen. He had been beaten and stripped by robbers, left half dead on the side of the road. Many others had passed, worried not about the man, but their own paths in life. But the Samaritan stopped and took care of him. Rather than asking, if I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? The Samaritan asked, if I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? Paraphrasing King, Kansas City's workers, constituents, and all present, we must not say, if I stop to help all people have economic dignity, if I stop to help and ensure we build literal and figurative bridges, what will happen to me or my status or my position? We must instead ask, if I do not stop to help kids get an education in an environment that they deserve, if I do not stop to help all adults wanting to find a job get one, if I do not stop to help our communities get better health care and people get off the streets, what will happen to them? We've got work to do. There is still chaos in the land. But I know Kansas City, all of us cry out to build a better city, not just on the football field, not just at big events, but based on fair investments everywhere in our city, based on economic promise and dignity for every Kansas Citian, and based on all that makes our community exceptional. Not just a $2.5 billion budget we'll talk about today, but our differences, our hard work, our talent, our fiscal responsibility, our dreams, that we all working together will get to that promised land. Thank you for listening. May God bless you all, and go Chiefs. Thank you all so very much.